Welcome back and welcome to another author event vlog. Last week I was lucky enough to go to the event for the wonderful Fat Girl on a Plane. This was held at Tattered Cover. They get the best authors there. And yeah, I took you along so you could see what happened. Make sure you stay to the end of this video because after the vlog footage, I'll have a giveaway to share with you. So that's very exciting. In case you weren't aware, it's now my second booktube anniversary. Been making videos for you for 2 years. So yeah, wait till the end of the video for a giveaway, and I hope you enjoy. So we are heading out, going to a book event, which I will be vlogging. So yeah, how exciting. Going to Tattered Cover and get some books signed. So I've got my book, got my Starbucks, and I'm just walking back to Tattered Cover for the event. Very exciting, very exciting. Look at that sun. Oh, so sunny, complete opposite of what it was yesterday.
I am Kelly, and my book is Fat Girl on a Plane. Ooh, hi. So about the book, it is the story of high school senior Cookie Vaughn, who wants to be the next great American fashion designer, but thinks that the fashion industry won't accept her unless she loses weight. So it follows her across 2 timelines before and after a major weight loss that she falsely believes will solve all her problems. And I wanted it to be a narrative about the differences between the way that society treats people that it perceives as thin and people that it perceives as, you know, in larger bodies, and how to learn to love yourself in spite of all of that. I'm Kelly, and this is a picture of me with a big hamburger. So my book was recently named one of the 50 best summer reads of all time by Reader's Digest magazine, and it's also endorsed by this Tyrannosaur, so I think like that should, you know, get everyone to buy it. Okay, so the inspiration for the book, it was inspired by an experience I initially had. I was on my way on a business trip to Salt Lake City. I had been working for many years behind the scenes as an art director and a graphic designer in the fashion industry and in the professional beauty industry. And I was on my way to a photo shoot with Keith Bryce from season 4 of Project Runway. And so when I was at the airport, I was approached by a flight attendant as I was standing kind of waiting to board the flight, who basically said, "You're too big to fit into one seat and you're going to have to come and buy a second seat." And it was a really kind of humiliating experience, just it was very public, the way that it was handled. And then they didn't even know if they had a second seat or what it was going to cost or how that was all going to work out. So there was this hour of this panicking hour where I didn't know if I was going to get to go or what I was going to say to my boss if I couldn't go. And I had this kind of moment where I thought, you know, I just won't go. I'll just make up some reason. I'll just tell them that I couldn't go, and, you know, they'll just have to deal with it. And then I thought, how many times do people in life, you know, that are in bigger bodies have those kinds of experiences where they're trying to just live their life and they let their goals be derailed by their weight? And so I thought to myself, I don't care what has to happen, I'm getting on this plane. So like I just told them, I'm getting on this plane, you do whatever you have to do. And they worked it out, and I went to the photo shoot and everything worked out. But afterwards, when I got back, I started thinking about that experience and also the fashion industry, which is supposed to be about, you know, about servicing women, about making products for women, but is very often about putting women down and making money out of making them feel bad about themselves. So I started thinking about that, writing that as a narrative, writing that as a book. So this is one of the images that we took at the photo shoot that I did in fact go to. So I started thinking a lot about the fashion design element of it and my character and how she was, what kind of approach that she was going to have to fashion design. And so I was doing research, and one of the things that really surprised me was this designer, Claire McArdle, whom I had never heard of before. When I think of American sportswear, I tend to think of people like Ralph Lauren and Tommy Hilfiger and people like that are really strongly correlated to American sportswear. And I didn't know that the inventor of American sportswear was actually a woman in the early 1930s. It's Claire McArdle. And she is one of the first women to have her own brand, like her own brand name. She is famous for a couple of different designs. The first one is the 1938 monastic dress, which sold out in one day. It was basically this dress that you just kind of put over your head and tied around yourself really quick, and you could get ready. And then one of her creations was this thing called the popover dress. And it was made in 1942. They sold 75,000 in one season, which that's like a season is like 3 months. And you can kind of tell from the picture, there's a pot holder because it had a big giant pocket and it came with a pot holder. And the idea was that it was a wrap dress. The idea was you were gonna put it on really quickly and you were gonna get out of the house. And so Claire McArdle was this really kind of, I don't know that they would have called it that during that time period, but she was this really feminist designer because her whole thing was about making clothes for people to do things in. Like when you come out of clothing from the 1920s and the 1930s, it was very persnickety. The zipper wasn't even in use until the early 40s. You had tons of buttons and snaps. You couldn't leave the house without your glove and your hat. And so there were all these barriers for women to leave home. And Claire McArdle was like, I want people to be able to get out. So if you're cooking or whatever, just put your pot holder in your pocket and get out of the house. So that's what she did. And so she was voted the best American sportswear designer in 1946. And you can kind of see some of her designs here. She made shorts and bathing suits and swimsuit cover-ups and pants for people to ride while they wore bicycles. Her preoccupation was really clothes for people that could do things. So then in 1957, she wrote this book, What Shall I Wear?, which is a big source of inspiration for my character, because the point of the book is that if you know who you are, you know what to wear. So it's like every scenario that you might encounter in 1950s life. So it has a lot of things like, your husband's coming home while you're at your sewing machine, what are you wearing? So that's kind of anachronistic, but it had the idea that like you would always be having an appropriate outfit for whatever you were doing. So my character is Cookie, and her dream is to make fashion for everybody, particularly for people that are defined as plus size. And I really saw it as the next evolution of Claire McArdle's philosophy, because I feel like plus size fashion is the next feminist iteration. It's an equalizing force that is designed to make sure that everybody can have opportunities. I think oftentimes fashion is thought about in terms of being really trivial because it's just on the outside, it's just what you're wearing. But it's a leveling force, because if you can't find a suit to go to a job interview for, you're not as competitively positioned as somebody who can. And if you can't find a cocktail dress to wear, you're not as confident in yourself as somebody who can. So I felt like what Claire McArdle would be doing today and what my character Cookie is doing is trying to make clothes for everybody so that everybody has access to the same opportunities. I wanted to talk about how I felt that fat people were not treated very nicely in society. And I wanted to show that my character had a lot of really negative feelings about herself as a result of that. And during the editorial process, oftentimes that made people feel bad. It was hard to show the difference between the way that the character was feeling about her own body and the way that I, as the author, think everybody should feel about their bodies, which is to say that I think how you look on the outside should really not be how you feel on the inside. That how you feel on the inside should be about your character and your achievements and your merit and your personality and your friendships and your relationships, and how you are on the outside should be a small part. So the hardest part was going through that process of trying to make it clear to the reader that this is not what I'm saying as the author. And so during the editing process, we went through a lot of iterations of adding in commentary from like a friend or somebody who would be standing there, who would say like, don't think that about yourself, or that, that's terrible, which is fine, although I'm not totally sure that really mirrors real life, because I think oftentimes in real life when you feel bad about yourself, there isn't always somebody standing right next to you who is going to say, hey, you don't feel that way. But on the editing side in the book, we had to kind of strike a balance between what the character was experiencing versus what we wanted the reader to experience. So I think that was the difficult part.
I just wanted to ask about the title.
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of people have negative connotations with the word fat, but a lot of plus size women refer to themselves as fat and have a really positive attitude to that. What discussion was there around the title? Has there been any resistance to the title?
Well, I wrote it with that title. That's how I submitted it to my agent, and that's how it went to the editor. I felt really strongly that it should be called that. I feel like it's important to reclaim that word, because the reality of it is that people are calling us fat behind our back anyway, and to me it just seems kind of pointless to just not acknowledge that this is just a basically descriptive word, and it's how you're being described anyway. So why not just embrace it and try to take away the negative connotations and reclaim it for yourself and own it? I think HarperCollins did have a period where they talked to booksellers and they talked to people and they said, would you put this on your shelf? Would you be okay with this? And I guess the feedback must have been acceptable because they did it. So,
what are you working on now?
Oh, okay. So I have a duology of YA thrillers coming in 2019 and 2020. They will have titles at some point. Right now there's about 400 titles up for consideration, so hopefully one day they will have titles.
How do you go from this to thrillers?
I'm really interested in girls performing in male-dominated roles. So one of the things that was really important to me about this book is that it's a character trying to be a fashion designer when most of the big names in fashion are male names, and most of the people who run the fashion industry are men, like particularly on the business side of it. So I'm really interested in this process that teenage girls are going through, and that they're going to have to go through, of kind of breaking through some of these barriers into these professions that have been historically dominated by men. So my daughter a couple years ago, she's a teenager, she went to join the computer club, and she was one of only 2 girls in there, and it was kind of awkward in the beginning, and I just thought, like, what is that like? How do you feel when you're one of only 2 people in this like sea of men and boys, and that ultimately you're going into this profession that is most like 99% men probably. So I had this idea to write a teen coder kind of based on that, and so at the same time my husband and I stumbled upon this prepper convention, like those people that are like stockpiling food in their basements, and I don't even know how, but we ended up at this prepper convention, and they were having like seminars like how to suture your own wounds, and I'm like, there is a story here about these kind of people. So I thought I was going to combine the 2 things, the girl who's the coder, and put her in this family of these kind of doomsday preppers that are trying to kind of survive the end of the world, and that was my thriller.
Do you feel, writing those thrillers, do you feel pressure to have like positive fat representation in those books, having had it in this book? Like, do you feel pressure?
I don't feel pressure, and I kind of thought to myself from the very beginning that I didn't want to be pigeonholed in that way, because I don't think that it should be incumbent upon fat people to only talk about fat people. I think that we should be able to write all kinds of different stories. My next thing that I am working on is another book that is about plus-size characters. It's actually Zombies at Fat Camp. It doesn't have weight loss content or anything, but that's what it is, so we'll see how that develops. But I want to have representation of fat people, and not just fat people, but people of all kinds of body types, because I almost feel like where it's headed is that like you're going to have really thin people and you're going to have fat people who are like the representation of fat people, but people are in all different sizes. You need tall people and short people, and you need thin people, and You need people that have hourglass figures and people that have all kinds of different bust lines. And, you know, I really just think that everybody, there just needs to be more representation just in general of all kinds of different people. So I want to get back to that. My thrillers don't have to do with that, just because I wanted to have a pause in between that kind of content.
What an awesome event. Thank you so much to Tata Cover, and thank you so much to Kelly, who's here signing books. So yes, to say thank you for being such wonderful subscribers. I got a copy of Fat Girl on a Plane signed. You know how much I loved this book. So this is a signed copy, which could be yours. Signed copy, whoop, and a fabulous bookmark, which is double-sided. Very cool. A postcard, again, double-sided, and one of these amazing pins. I love these pins. It says slay at any size. I have one too, so we'd be matching. So this giveaway is US only this time, just because of postage, but I do have another couple of giveaways coming up, one on my Instagram and one on my blog. So if you're not already following me on there, the links are always below, so make sure you follow me on there, because there'll be, in the coming weeks, giveaways happening over on there. In order to enter to win a copy of this book, I would like you to, one, be subscribed to my channel. I will be checking. And two, I would like you to go and watch the video where I talk about this book, which I will leave linked up here, linked down here. I'll leave it in a pinned comment so that you're definitely not going to miss it. So I talk about this video I talk about this book in my plus size diversity video. I want you to go away and leave a comment on there. If you have already left a comment on there, you don't have to leave another one. You can just leave a comment on this video saying, I already left a comment over there. And then when the giveaway closes, which will be in 1 week, you have 1 week to enter. When the giveaway closes, I will leave a comment on the winner's comment, and then I can send you your book. So, signed book giveaway. Must be subscribed to me. Go and comment on my plus size diversity video, which is linked everywhere. If you've already commented, you can just leave a comment on this video, and I hope you enjoy. Yeah, if even if you're not entering, hit that subscribe button so that my next video lands in your subscription feed. As I say, links to everywhere else is always in the description box below, so you can follow me on there. I do have 2 more giveaways coming up, because there's been lots of big things happening. I hit 1,000 subscribers on Instagram. I was excited to hit 200 on here, and now I'm nearly at 400. So yeah, lots and lots to celebrate. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and do leave me comments below, even if you're not entering the giveaway. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you with another video soon.